Do you have one of these? I got a little obsessed with mine. In fact, I got a little obsessed with all my stuff. Have you ever wondered where all the stuff we buy comes from and where it goes when we throw it out?
Not me! Not me at all. So, yeah, I just looked up the textbook and spent some time doing nothing and looking at the system, and of course.
Together, it's called the materials economy. Well, I looked into it a little bit more. In fact, I spent 10 years
trying to lick my elbow.
There is a lot. For one thing, this system is fine. No problem. Every step along the way, this system is interacting with the real world. In real life, it's not happening on a blank white page. And all along the way, it's bump, 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 bump. Limits we see here because the diagram is incomplete. So let's go back through. Let's fill in some of the blanks and see what's missing. Well, one of the most important things that's missing is people. Yes, people. People live and work all along this system. And some people in this system matter a little more than others.
For example, I matter more than you.
Who are they? Well, let's start with the government. Then along came the corporation. Now, the reason the corporation looks bigger than the government is that
the corporation ain't too much.
And as the corporation has grown in size, we've seen a little change in the government where they're a little more concerned in making sure everything's working out for those guys than for us. Okay, so let's see what else is missing from this picture. We'll start with extraction, which is a fancy word for natural resource exploitation, which is a fancy word for
eating too much.
Chop down the trees, we blow up mountains to get the metals inside, we use up all the water, and we wipe out the animals. Simply to go take somebody else's. This is the third world, which some would say is another word for our stuff that somehow got on somebody else's land. So what does that look like? The same thing, trashing the place. And what about the people who live here? Well, according to these guys, they don't own these resources, even if they've been living there for generations. They don't own the means of production, and they're not buying a lot of stuff. And in this system, if you don't own or buy a lot of stuff, you don't have value. So next, the materials move to production. And what happens there is we use energy to mix toxic chemicals in with the natural resources to make toxic contaminated products. Toxics in, toxics out. As long as we keep putting toxics into our industrial production systems, we're going to keep getting toxics in the stuff that we bring into our home. Many of whom are women of reproductive age. They're working with reproductive toxins, carcinogens, and more. Now I ask you, what kind of woman of reproductive age would work in a job exposed to reproductive toxins?
Me, of course!
And that's one of the beauties of this system. Yep, toxics in, toxics out. A lot of the toxics leave the factories in products, but even more leave as byproducts or pollution. And it's a lot of pollution. In the US, our industry admits to releasing over 4 billion pounds of toxic chemicals a year. And it's probably a lot more because that's only what they admit. So that's another limit, because yuck, who wants to look at and smell 4 billion pounds of toxic chemicals a year?
Me, of course!
Move the dirty factories overseas. Pollute someone else's land. But surprise, a lot of that pollution is coming right back at us, carried by wind currents. We're paying for the stuff we buy. I was thinking about this the other day. I was walking to work and I wanted to listen to the news, so I popped into a Radio Shack to buy a radio. And that brings us to the golden arrow of consumption. This is the heart of the system, the engine that drives it. It is so important that protecting this arrow has become the top priority for both of these guys. The primary way that our value is measured and demonstrated is by how much we contribute to this arrow, how much we consume. And do we? We shop and shop and shop, keep the materials flowing. And coffee cups, but now it's even big stuff. Mops, DVDs, cameras, barbecues, even everything. Our hair is wrong, our skin is wrong, our clothes are wrong, our furniture is wrong, our car is wrong, we are wrong, but it can all be made right if we just go shopping. Now, some companies don't want to deal with building landfills and incinerators here, so they just export the disposal too.